You don't know what I just said, so if I screw up, you can get rid of it.
Okay.
Really, I mean it.
I thought I'd make an entrance today. I'm going to actually we're going to talk a little something about tarot cards today, but basically, Constance observed something many years ago, I think,
When I first read the Book of Those.
by now, about the nature of tarot cards and each tarot card.
And he called me in from the kitchen to say something. Oh, okay. My theory, in my humble opinion, there is the entire tarot deck has a list of ingredients, like a recipe. And every single tarot card uses the entire list of ingredients, only in different proportions. When I first started reading the Book of Thoth, I thought I'd study it, and I got through about the 5th card, and I realized, wait a minute, every card says this. Says the same thing, only in different proportions. Anyway, that's my theory.
That's your story, and you're sticking with
I'm
it.
sticking with it because I haven't thought of anything. Well, nothing better came to me.
Well, and it's absolutely profound because it seems that Crowley has agrees with us too, at least on from one perspective. I've sort of billed this thing as this morning's talk as a tarot deck with 1,232 cards in it. Yes, a 1,232 card tarot deck. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to actually read you something from Crowley's Book of Thoth, and then I'm going to read you I prepared a few years back. It says, when Crowley starts talking to, the Book of Thoth is in sections, and the one of the early sections is, the trumps, the atus, the 22 atus. And then he goes into the other section, the small cards, the greater arcana, the lesser arcana. And in his comments on the Ace of Wands, which is the top one, Yod He Vav He, Wands, Cups, Swords, Discs, Ace, Kether, the Kether tree of life, on the tree of life of Wands, of the Yod of Yod He Vav He. I'm getting right off to a very eloquent start here. I'm going to read you what he says. The root of the powers of fire. Now, the aces aren't really the elements yet. They're the root of the elements. They're the overriding soul, the tendency, if you will, of the elements. When it actually starts in the same inscrutable way that Kether is the root of everything else that's going to follow down the tree of life. It's just a descent. Root of the powers of fire, which would be the Ace of Wands. This card represents the essence of the element of fire in its inception. It's a solar, phallic outburst of flame from which spring lightnings in every direction. And he's describing the Thoth Tarot. That must be my agent calling to tell me that they're going to shoot that movie of the script that I wrote.
You've reached Lon and Constance. Please leave it, Betsy.
No, you haven't.
Thank you, dear. Screw 'em. That movie doesn't need to be made, I guess. Call me later. Talk to my people. Now it's making that funny noise, that beep, beep, beep noise. Anyway, maybe we should just start the whole thing over today. It's Wednesday. It feels like a hump. Okay, I'm going to start over. Ace of Wands. This card represents the essence of the element of fire in its inception. It's a solar phallic outburst of flame from which spring lightnings in every direction. He's describing the Thoth Tarot Ace of Wands. These flames are yods arranged in the form of a tree of life. It is the primordial energy of the divine manifesting in matter. At so early a stage that it's not yet defined, not yet definitely formulated as will. Important. Although these small cards are sympathetic with their sephirotic origins, in other words, each of the small cards is sympathetic. If it's the Two of Swords, it's sympathetic with two, Hokmah on the Tree of Life. Or if it's the Six of Discs, it's sympathetic with Tifereth in the suit of discs or earth. So he could have just said it as easy as that, but instead he said it profoundly more correct. Although these small cards are sympathetic with their sephirotic origin, they are not identical. Nor are they divine persons. They're not divine persons. These and the court cards also are primarily sub-elements, parts of the blind forces under the demiurgos tetragrammaton. Now, for those of you that, excuse me for a second, for those of you who picked up the Book of Thoth with the naive dream that it's going to simplify the tarot for you, I'll attempt to explain that. With a simple diagram. The sephirotic, or the blind forces under the Yod-He-Vav-He formula. Okay. So the small cards are the blind forces of nature, subdivided by element, Yod-He-Vav-He, subdivided again into sub-elements, fire of fire, water of water, earth of fire, fire of etc., etc. Subdivided again into 72 sections. These angels of the Shemhamferish are portions of blind forces that they represent the subdivisions of subdivisions of subdivisions of these blind forces. And as they degenerate into, from angels of the Shemhamferish, down into an entire array of lesser blind forces, the most famous of which, the most publicized ones, are the 72 spirits of the Goetia. But I assure you, there are countless as it fractalizes and breaks down in the involution process of spirit descending into matter. The demiurgos that Crowley's referring to is Yod He Vav He. These rulers are intelligences in the Yetziratic world who go to form the Shem Hamfarish. Nor is even this name Lord of the Universe, though it be truly divine, as are the lords of the Atu in the element spirit. So he's saying that the spirits of the Atu are divine rather than portions of blind elements or expressions of divine, blind forces of the elements. So he's really making a big, big distinction between the greater arcana of the tarot and the lesser arcana. Now, if you're familiar with Enochian magic, this ace of wands here that we're looking at could be represented by that entire elemental tablet of fire. And if you look at that elemental tablet of fire from across the room, it's pretty damn red. It's pretty damn fiery red. But as you get closer to it, you can see that there's a red section, but there's a bluish red section, and there's a yellowish red section, and there's a green or a blackish red section. And that's the first breakdown, the sub-elements. So those corners would be like the court cards of the suit of wands. And then as you bring it even closer, you see that there are all sorts of other little subdivisions of subdivisions of subdivisions. Each of them have an Enochian or an angelic letter that gives the name of that specific blind force, that angel, if you will, that is represented by that individual square. It keeps fractalizing and fractalizing and fractalizing. But if you back way up, it just looks like an ace of wands. So from a bonehead point of view, all of the lesser arcana live in their respective aces. And as you get closer, you see the court cards. You get closer, you see the 9 small cards within it. So speaketh the Lord. So speaketh the Lord. Okay. So I'm going to read that, keeping that in mind, I'm going to read that sentence again. These, the small cards, and the court cards also, are primarily sub-elements, parts of the blind forces under the demiurgos, tetragrammaton, Yod He Vav He. Their rulers are the intelligences in the Yetziratic world who go to form that Shem Hamfarish. Nor is even this name Lord of the Universe, though it be truly divine, as are the lords of the Atu in this element of spirit. So the small cards, they're divine. I misspoke when I said they're not divine, but they're not divine in the same way as the trumps. The lesser arcana is divine under the demiurgos tetragrammaton, fire, water, air, earth elements, but the Atu are divine under the quintessential element of spirit. Each Atu possesses its own private, personal, and particular universe, with demiurgos and all the rest complete, just as every man and every woman does. Then it says, for example, and I've got audio visuals here that haven't spared the expense. For example, number 2, or the high priestess, or number 6, the lovers, which is called the oracle of the children of the voice. Each of those cards possess their own private small card. As a matter of fact, an entire deck of small cards. But he uses the example of the 3 of discs. So, High Priestess and the lovers each have a personal, private universe, 3 of discs of their own. The 3 of discs might represent the establishment such as an Oracle of Delphi. Oracle of Delphi. Or 8s, the 8th one, the personal private 3 of discs of number 8 might be the first formula of a code such as Manu gave to the Hindustan, or Moses, or Hammurabi. I threw those in myself. So, 3 of discs. 3 of discs for that establishment of a legal code. Number 5, a cathedral. Number 16, a standing army, and so on. The great point is, Crowley finally comes to the point, the great point is that all elemental forces, however sublime, powerful, or intelligent, are blind forces, and no more. Now that you can find that in the Crowley's Book of Thoth. Now, if you read the Book of Thoth only 4 or 5 times in your life, read it again. It's a different book, I guarantee you. Every time you pick it up, it's like the words melt into other words between readings. Okay, this is a little paper that I wrote, and I'm getting ready to expand on this. But right now you get the bare bones of it. A tarot deck with 1,232 cards. Imagine, if you will, that the supreme consciousness of the cosmos, the ultimate spiritual and cosmological reality, could take the form of a precious stone prism whose surface was cut with 22 uniquely shaped facets. Because each facet is different, it bends the infinite light in an entirely distinctive manner. And when we gaze into the stone, we behold a complete, yet completely unique image of the whole. 22 totally unique interpretations of the single supreme consciousness. Such is the profound nature of the tarot trumps, each a self-contained world, all its own. 1/22nd facet of the totality of the mind of God. Armed with this understanding, we could make the compelling argument that each trump can be assigned an entire set of minor arcana of its own. 56 elemental variations for each of the 22 major themes. Elegantly complex and intimately connected drama, comedies, written, directed, and acted out by each of the 22 trumps. Instead of a tarot deck of 78 cards, 22 trumps of the major arcana and 56 cards of the minor arcana, we're working with a deck of 1,232 cards, 22 times 56. This idea is hardly new. Indeed, Aleister Crowley provides an obvious illustration in his tarot classic, The Book of Thoth. And I quote again this part. For example, the three of discs belonging to the High Priestess or the lovers might represent the establishment of an oracle like that of Delphi. The three of discs belonging to Justice Trump might be the first formula of a code, such as Manu gave to the Hindustan. The Hierophant's three of discs might point to the construction of a cathedral. The Tower's three of discs might indicate the massing of a standing army. The Empress's three of discs, the building of a pleasure palace. Okay, the great point is that all the elemental forces, however sublime, powerful, or intelligent, are blind forces and no more, unquote. Unquote my paraphrase. The ideas that such pairings evoke can be an infinite source of meditation and an invaluable exercise for anyone to use the cards for divination. And that's from the Book of Thoth, page 189. Okay, how or if all this could apply to you and your tarot readings practice is entirely up to you. For example, in a simple 3-card spread, the presence of one or more trumps could more clearly define the true focus of your client's motives or concerns. A trump paired with certain court cards could make a dramatically significant difference in how they are to judge the actions or behavior of other people involved in the issue or issues of concern. If you're really adventurous, you might even consider experimenting with a new 2-part procedure, such as something like this. Divide your deck into 2 stacks, trumps and major arcana. Shuffle each stack separately. First, choose one card from the trump deck to establish the major theme of the issue. Choose one card from the, then choose the following cards, whatever your spread's going to be. Choose the following cards from the minor arcana to learn the details and specifics. Anyway, it's something to think about. And if you aren't completely intimidated by the idea of reading with the 1,232 card tarot deck, you might actually find it more natural and easy than it sounds. It might even become one of the handiest tools you have in your tarot reading toolbox. Well, that may or may not be. But it's something for us to think about. And for those of you who listen in every morning that use tarot cards as part of your meditations and or part of your divinatory process, either for yourself or to others, it may give you at least a better idea of the potential importance of the fact and the idea that each of those trumps is everything viewed from its own unique perspective. and that includes the entire Yod-He Vav-He blind force sub-elemental world, which in a practical way is where you really get the most practical information anyway from your tarot readings. Anyway, that's it for Wednesday. And thanks to Constance for her observation. I think that was brilliant. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.